Do you think you can cut short the dynamic where they immediately dig in and decide we're going to tear this guy to shreds? Because that is what I imagine happening. They spend 4 years saying we're going to rip this guy up.
I've spent the last 5 years working on legislation with some of the most right-wing people at the Capitol. Not just working with them, but having them as co-authors, knowing that a lot of times our values and vision don't align. So I don't have any problem with working with people that we might not agree on for the good of the people.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.
We are back on the Wedge Live podcast with State Senator Omar Fateh running for Mayor of Minneapolis. Come right up to me, because I felt bad with Dwayne Davis, how far behind he would get. And I feel like it made him look like a tiny man, and he's a large man. So welcome to the Wedge Live podcast, Senator.
Happy to be here. This is exciting.
If I didn't say so, I'm your host, John Edwards. And how's the campaign going?
So far it's going good. We got a little less than 50 days now till election. We've been hitting the doors by the thousands, door knocking a lot. We've had a few interesting forums also, so things are going really well.
Have you had any fun forum moments or compelling forum moments that you're like, I really nailed that one?
I would say at the last forum with Seitul and Unidos and all those folks, IX, we're talking about some of the protections around immigrants, especially under a hostile federal government. I think that's one of the top issues we're hearing time and time again from community members. And so I wouldn't say just myself. I feel like all of us as candidates, I feel like myself, Jazz and Dwayne, we had similar responses in that we will be unapologetically standing with our immigrant community.
So Jazz had an interesting answer where he's like, I want to make sure MPD's boots are facing the right direction. Like if federal agents are in Minneapolis doing a raid, essentially what he's saying is he wants MPD to show up to protect Minneapolis residents. Do you relate to that answer? Do you have a different position? Like, what is the role of MPD when something like that happens?
I think raid or not, and whether it's the idea of crowd control or not, as the current administration and MPD has been saying, I think MPD should not play any role in assisting the federal government, any role in assisting ICE. If they want to cause chaos and have people's anxiety and folks taken to the street, as we saw on Lake and Bloomington that day, then it's up to them to clean up their own mess. And the thing is that right now we have an opportunity to do a lot of things around strengthening our separation ordinance, for example. One of the biggest failures that we had in that situation was that the mayor left and MPD left our city council members in the dark for 4 hours. And I think that's heartbreaking. Our city council members are the ones that connect us to the community and need to have that direct line with folks so that they know what's happening.
So what if the situation devolves and it becomes like a public safety concern? Let's say there's civil unrest, or we have federal agents like firing tear gas. We have seen that in other cities. In Los Angeles, we saw how that got a little out of control. Like, does the MPD have like a public safety function in those cases?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, we know that it's not going to be a one-off thing. We know that more likely than not, Trump's administration, the federal government, all these three-letter acronyms are gonna continue to wreak havoc in our communities, like we've seen in other areas, like California, for example. But I think we can do a lot of preventative measures to protect people. Like I said, strengthening our separation ordinance, letting people know ahead of time what's coming down. We need to connect better with people that are like the boots on the ground organizations that have connections to community and already doing a lot of important work like know your rights counseling, providing resources for community members and things like that. And I think that should be the right approach, trying to be both proactive and engaging with community rather than trying to scramble afterwards.
So one of the things I have what really stands out to me about your campaign, and I have appreciated a lot, is how in your stump speech, I think I first noticed it at the convention.
Yeah.
Where you call out transit riders as like a key component of your constituency. Like other campaigns may have nice transit platforms, but they don't get shout outs in like a lot of your speeches like you do. Why have you made transit riders a key part of your constituency? Like, is that a winning coalition? Or are transit riders like me and others a key part of a winning mayoral coalition?
Just speaking on the needs of working people, transit riders are by and large part of that, especially at the Capitol, for example. We didn't have many voices for a long time. There's always been larger efforts to do things like put funding for highway expansion, and we know that that's not the route we want to go. And an important part of our transportation infrastructure includes transit, includes bike lanes, making our city, our state more walkable, bikeable. Folks want to use our sidewalks. I think that's the correct approach, especially if we want to achieve our climate goals. But like you said, this coalition is a winning coalition of folks that care about a whole host of issues. And the working class message encompasses all of that. Yours is an e-bike, right?
No, this is a regular acoustic bike.
Awesome. How long you had it for?
About 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah. I was full-time Nice Ride before.
Oh, okay.
And then they got bought by Lyft and the prices got jacked up. Here's what a socialist can weigh in on, is the problem with a big corporation coming in and buying up our nonprofit bike share.
Yeah,
company, then jacking up the prices and then going away. They ruined it.
Yeah, that's a no-go. And you know, we had a similar legislation around the e-bike rebates for folks at the state level that was incredibly popular. I think that within within minutes before the 11 a.m. application opened, there was 50,000 people in the waiting room. And then I think it maxed out or at peak at 61,000, a little over 61,000, which showed you that there's an appetite for this. And so I remember speaking to some of my colleagues about it when we were in the initial stages of drafting the legislation. And my thought was that, well, number one, we put a lot more money into it, but it got pared down for budget reasons. But number two, I thought it would go within days or a week. I never anticipated it to get wiped out within minutes. So that shows you the appetite that's behind it.
One of the things that holds me back from getting an e-bike is because I'm a little leery. I don't want to have to carry it upstairs to my apartment.
Yes.
And bike parking is an issue. I don't want to get it stolen. You have a multi-$1,000 e-bike. We don't have a lot of great bike parking. There's some parts of the city where there's not a lot of great bike parking options. You're worried it's a target for theft. So I'm pretty happy with my light regular bike and not the e-bike. Do you have any solutions on bike parking? Will you be the bike parking mayor?
I would support that, but the cool thing about this also is that it actually is connected to a phone, so that
you can disable it?
It can be disabled as well, correct. So it can help with things like theft and things like that. But I think that we got to make sure that we're having a city and as a senator, a state that's keeping more in mind our folks that are trying to take use of our major infrastructure, whether it's our bike lanes, whether it's using the light rail, whether it's using our buses.
So we're here biking on the new Hennepin Avenue. Phase 1 is complete. So it's a good time to ask, are there examples of recent street reconstructions that you've been impressed with? You like some of the features that have been added, and like you can point to it as an example of the kind of streets you would want to build with your public works department if you're elected?
One of them would be probably Bryant Avenue. I think that's a good one.
Go off to the right. That's a little tricky transition, sorry.
Yeah, a little bit of a transition. I've heard from folks that there are times when even parents wouldn't want their kids to be out in the streets because of it's not being safe, but now they're able to use the bike lanes, take advantage, and play out there. And it's a great I think, success story for what the city's able to accomplish.
I love Bryan Avenue. And I think a lot of people were exercised. I don't know if it was a ton of people or just a small number of very loud people who were upset. But I think in the aftermath, nobody would say, well, let's go back to the way Bryan Avenue was before.
I don't think so. I would hope not.
You are associated due to your work in the legislature with the 2040 plan, and you were key in passing the legislation. You authored that, right?
Yep.
To make sure it was not vulnerable to legal attack.
Yes.
What's your 2050 plan vision? Because we're coming up on that. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot that we can build upon. One thing that I would like to see is in increasing the population of our city. That's one thing that I think that we need to pursue more better. I like that the transit-oriented development aspect of 2040, but I think that we need to make sure that, especially, I think times in which revenue may be an issue and we might not be taking as much dollars in and not wanting to overburden working families, having more people in a city that we can spread across each individual person. I think that's the right approach to take.
Do you have any key strategies to any rezoning priorities? How do we add more population?
I think building upon 2040, converting some of the downtown units that are offices. Obviously not all of it, that wouldn't be possible, but converting some of the downtown spaces into housing and incentivizing more building.
So here's one thing that I wanted to ask you since that forum at Sabathani Community Center. You had an answer. The question was on rent control.
Yes.
And you're like, we can do rent control and we can incentivize more housing. And I'm like, great. But then I'm thinking, how?
Yes.
How do we do rent control in a way that doesn't unfold as it has in St. Paul, and make sure we continue to build more housing?
Well, I think there's a lot that went on in the situation in which rent control was implemented in St. Paul, and some of the factors that were working against them also. Things like inflation. Nationwide, there was building issues. But I think that we can come up with a plan in a way that protects renters, but also at the same time, we can continue to build. In fact, I don't think it's a radical idea. I think at the federal level, President Biden's campaign, they were campaigning on, I think, a 5% cap nationwide. So I know that the appetite amongst people are there to protect our tenants and our renters. And that isn't to say that we must choose one or the other. We must pursue building more units, which, by the way, needs to be affordable units, or protecting our renters. I just don't buy the fact that it's either or.
What kind of rent control policy are you thinking of? Would it be like St. Paul's? Are there differences you foresee? I know when I first talked to you, I think maybe 2024, the end of 2024, it was a long time ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You hadn't, understandable, you hadn't really fleshed out a policy. You said you wanted to do what the council would support, but can you give me a more detailed answer this time about like what components of the policy you'd like to see?
It wouldn't be about fleshing out a response. It is sincerely about bringing people together, bringing the city council together to come up with something that is meaningful, that will protect renters and tenants, and that will serve as a model, not just for our state, but nationwide. And that's the approach I would take. I know that we have city council members. I would like to think that at least 7 of them right now would like to pursue a form of rent control, and we can get there. Would it be 100% of what everyone wants? Maybe, maybe not. But I think that it's on us to do the work to figure that out.
Are you worried it might be too strong for your taste?
too strong for my taste? In
Yeah,
what way?
like they could produce a policy potentially that is maybe a policy that inhibits development, in your opinion. Do you think they could produce something that is too strong? You'd have to say, hold up, let's rethink this.
I wouldn't think so, because it wouldn't be solely myself or a city council member. It will take collaboration across multiple stakeholders, different types of people. And so the finished product would be one in which would take a lot of data collecting and a lot of conversations.
You don't want to give me any specifics. So I'll list them off. New construction exemption, is that something you're amenable to?
I know that's something, so when I was speaking to folks pre-caucus, post-caucus, after convention, that's one of the concerns they had also around like the situation out in St. Paul. I don't think that was one of the major issues around the challenges they were facing, but I'm more than happy and willing to have that conversation around what the appetite around that is.
We're speaking a day after 2 mass shootings in Minneapolis, and maybe not even the 2 mass shootings that people are thinking of. We had 2 more a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Am I correct that 3 of those involved encampments, or just 2 of them?
I believe 2 of them.
2 of them, and those were yesterday. And we're stuck in a loop where the mayor gets to be indignant and say, you know, I'm the absolutely not, no encampments, not on my watch candidate, as he's been mayor for 2 terms. It seems like he should be vulnerable on that. Like, this is his mess. You don't get to be the indignant candidate when it's happening under your watch. His answer that like, these are unsafe, we need to clear the encampments, connects with people like viscerally.
Yeah.
Like, of course we do. Of course they're unsafe. We're seeing it every time.
Yes.
This unfolds over and over again. But like, we don't get to the other part of that. So like, what should we be doing?
Well, a few things. Number one, just yesterday, the encampment near Lake and 28th was cleared out less than 24 hours after the shooting, in which, by the way, all of the folks that were at the encampment, all of our unhoused neighbors were victims of. They went through a lot of trauma of almost getting shot, almost getting murdered. Not being able to even process that, losing folks, having folks that got hurt that they know personally. And so immediately after that, going through such a situation, the immediate response was, we're gonna clear people out. So 2 things are wrong with that. Number one, clear them out to where? Because the only solution that the mayor seems to be having is moving them block by block. But number 2, the lack of just compassion and humanity in it. There was a story we saw yesterday, and I also heard from folks on the ground when I got to visit, that one of the encampment folks, they had their mother's ashes thrown away. I think that's heartbreaking. That's beyond heartbreaking. We hear stories of folks losing their social security cards, their birth certificates, their key identifiers for people, for them to be located and assisted. But I can't imagine the emotional impact of having your mother's ashes disposed of. I think that's heartbreaking, that's wrong, and it shows you the cruelty of all this. Now, there's a lot that the mayor can do, but is choosing not to do. We know that, for example, sanitation is a huge issue, and that there's been a spread of infectious diseases throughout this entire time, things like hepatitis and HIV and so on. And so we got to make sure that folks are protected, and we're providing them with the sanitary services and needs that they should be afforded. We need to be directly connecting them with services and whether it's shelter temporarily and also placing them in housing, because we know we can't just bulldoze them. It takes time. It takes sometimes months, several months, to coordinate care for people. And so there's just no plan, but there's no intent to have a plan either.
Right. But I think the mayor's response, and believe me, I understand the problem with the mayor's rhetorical response, but the existence of the encampments, I think people understand a large group of people with mental health issues, addiction issues, drug use, and it attracts people selling drugs, it attracts people with guns. The existence of the encampments is a problem. And so like it feels correct to people that after something horrific happens, you should make sure this encampment stops existing. Now I know like they get moved someplace else, a new encampment forms, like it's not actually solving the root cause. But like what do you do in the aftermath of that? Do you just let it continue to exist? Like what is the response that should happen like today and yesterday, for example, right after it happens?
I think providing safety for the folks that are directly impacted. And what I mean by that is gun violence, yes, is an issue, but it's an issue everywhere, not just with our encampments. We know that gun violence is an issue in our public schools with our kids. We know that gun violence is an issue with at college rallies, but it's easier to dunk on folks that are unable to fend for themselves, like our unhoused population. And so rather than taking the inhumane approach, I'd like to see an approach that actually centers around their needs and how we can proactively serve and protect them, and not just having a model in which they're viewed as society's burden, when in reality it's a symptom of systemic failures by our mayor's administration.
Putting on my cynical political hat, I'm thinking the mayor should be so vulnerable on this issue. And did you read the Star Tribune article today? Like one of the points Dina Winter made was there's nobody running to the mayor's right. And so like he just occupies this space where he's like the hardcore zero tolerance on encampments guy.
What's to the right of that?
But like rhetorically.
Yeah.
Even though all of this is happening while he is mayor, like it appears that your approach is not working, Mayor.
And it has not been working for 2 terms now.
But I also feel like pointing out the argument, the political argument is not being made effectively in a way that could win over people to see like, oh yeah, I don't like that these encampments exist, but also the person responsible for them existing and there not being a solution has been the mayor this whole time. I don't know, I'm just not hearing, and this is not about you, this is about like all the candidates, I think. Could we have an attack on that lands with like moderates?
I think the one of the larger issues is that their mayor has been flat out lying for 2 terms, and those lies have been sticking. And for example, he said there's 27 unhoused folks left in the city. We know that was untrue. We know Hennepin County came out with data that there's 389 in Hennepin County, which 85-90% of which are within the city of Minneapolis. I think they had like a 3-month study that showed, or a report that showed within those 3 months, 680, close to 700 folks unhoused. And so that's just plain not true. He ran in 2017 saying that he'd eliminate homelessness within 5 years. And right now there's more unhoused people than when he first took office. And so all that's on the record, all that is visibly out there. But unfortunately, there's an old saying, and I think I mentioned this to you last time. It might have been Lyndon Johnson who said, if you can't convince them, confuse them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the approach that's being taken.
And scare them.
What was that?
And scare them.
Yes, exactly right.
Hello, Wedge Live podcast listeners. This is John Edwards speaking on behalf of our newest sponsor, betterthan94.org/open letter. What's better than 994? Literally anything. A trench poisoning people unlucky enough to have had it built through their neighborhood many decades ago sounds pretty bad to me. The Minnesota Department of Transportation refuses to study the boulevard option to replace I-94 through the heart of Minneapolis and St. Paul. To justify this, MnDOT has produced an unbelievably flawed analysis that says an urban interstate is actually safer and more environmentally friendly than a more traditional boulevard-style city street accommodating pedestrians, transit, bikes, and cars, as well as like better utilizing all of that space devoted to that trench. Please sign on to this letter that's broadly supported by more than 35 local organizations, elected officials, and me at betterthan94.org/open-letter. Taylor, can you read our pharmaceutical-style disclaimer at the end of this ad?
Rebuilding urban interstates can lead to several more generations of steep disparities in health issues, as diverse as asthma, cancer, old age dementia, children's brain development, heart attacks, strokes, depression, anxiety, and early death. Ask your doctor if betterthan94.org/open-letter is right for you.
From your website, you say there are police reforms the mayor is not even attempting. What are some of those key reforms that the mayor is not attempting that you think need
Building
to be?
out a robust public safety infrastructure. I think that number one, we have a city council majority that's willing to put in the work and put in the changes needed so that when you call 911, you have the appropriate response at the right time. And so we had a city report that came out at the end of last year that showed nearly half of 911 calls to MPD can be diverted away from police, meaning we can have alternatives to policing, right? And if we know that immediately we can take off half off their plate, then we got to build that out somehow. We got to invest in that. I worked with my colleagues at the Capitol to bring in $300 million statewide, but $19 million in public safety aid for the city of Minneapolis that was meant to do just that. For a long time, it went untouched because of the mayor bumping heads with the city council. But I think that is the right approach. And too many times as a state senator, we're hearing from folks that when they call 911, either calls get dropped or police take forever to come. And so all that is happening at once. And by the way, at the Capitol, myself, we've been hearing as legislators, law enforcement from different jurisdictions saying that we can't respond to every single phone call. We need to build out our public safety infrastructure to meet the needs of everyone. And so this isn't going against what law enforcement is telling us either. They're literally telling us we can't respond to all of these calls, especially mental health calls. Well, with that to say also, we need to have real, what's up?
You're getting recognized on Bryan Avenue.
Yes.
Is this your stronghold? Southwest Minneapolis?
It just might be. But one last thing is that police accountability is still a real thing, and that we have 2 consent decrees that need to be fully implemented. But unfortunately, we just have a mayor that's been campaigning on if you're pro-police accountability, then you're anti-public safety, and that's not the case.
How do we bring in more revenue to the city to ease the property tax burden on homeowners?
That's a very good question. And so we're going to have to think creatively, especially since we know that there's going to be most likely revenue issues in the upcoming year. I know, for example, we saw there was a building downtown. I believe it was the Ameriprise building that was valued at $297 million, and it got sold for $3 million. That's horrific. That's horrible. And so we got to think creatively. I had a bill at the Capitol that almost made it across the finish line, but the session concluded this year, where for the land value tax, and I think that would be a good approach. And also, by the way, it was bipartisan. I got Senator Glenn Gruenhagen to sign on it, who is a little bit more to my right, and so we could think about having a mayor that can lobby for that to get that across the finish line. We can have commercial vacancy taxes so that we can have more businesses downtown and take up the storefronts that are not being utilized. This ties into what I said earlier also, but we can build so that we have more people in the city to expand our tax base. So there's a lot we can do to tackle on the challenges of revenue. But at the same time, we got to be more strategic about how we're spending our money we have right now with our budget. We cannot spend it on tens of millions of dollars on like police settlements or overtime pay or things like that.
Did I also see on your website the idea to have the city buy buildings that have come down in value so much so that the city can like capitalize on the
yes.
downturn?
I think that's more than doable, and I've heard the same thing also, not just on the website, but when I've had people that are meet and greets. Yeah, and utilizing those unused properties, I think that's the right approach to take.
So I've noticed this with Robin Wansley on the city council. she is very productive. A lot of people are like, oh, she's this extremist and she's a scary socialist. But on the other hand, she's like producing all this like relatively bipartisan, if I can use bipartisan to describe the Minneapolis City Council. I think we have two political parties in the city. We're not all Democrats here. But
On paper, we might be.
a lot of legislation, and I can't imagine that these are all, this is not a knock on Wansley, but these are not all like ideas she's been dreaming of her whole life. Like, I think she is just receptive to other people bringing her good ideas. Is that what's happening with you? Like, are people bringing you all of these ideas? Because you propose a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of the ideas that I'm also known for, some the most progressive ideas like tuition-free college for working families, the rideshare protections for Uber and Lyft, the legalization of fentanyl testing strips, a whole host of human services legislation that we had, were all bipartisan. And so one of the challenges that I wanted to tackle at the Capitol with our colleagues is that when you're going into negotiations, that doesn't mean you always have to compromise your values and sacrifice everything. There's ways to communicate the needs of people and working people to get Republicans on board also. That's one of the things I learned, especially in the minority, in my first 2 years in office. My first 2 years in office, the Republicans were in charge. I had to think of ways in which I can still be effective, knowing that they don't want to hear any of our bills or pass anything that meaningful that we want. So I did the work. I spent more time on the Republican side of the building than the Democratic side, talking to folks, trying to pick off, okay, we disagree on 99% of issues, but we at least agree right here on one issue. For example, Senator Lucero, you might care about mass surveillance. We can work on that together. Senator Abler, you care about housing, we can work on that together, or human services and things like that. And so trying to pick off individual policies with individual people, and I think that's what helped me get some of the stuff that I worked on across the finish line.
Have we settled the police funding debate? Like, is that a non-issue at this point? Because one thing I've noticed since 2020 is people have cried and cried and cried about defunding the police, and yet when I look at the budget chart, it's gone up and up and up.
Yes.
So like, is that debate over? Are people foolish when they cry, this person is a socialist and they're going to defund our police and there will be no more police? Like, is that a waste of time to talk about that, or are the accusations true?
I don't think it's a waste of time, and I just think that, by the way, I've heard similar people asking, why has the city council, not the mayor, why has the city council defunded the police? Why are they hacking away at the police budget?
Ignore the funding charts.
Exactly. And so, number one, that's just flat out not true. But number two, that's the misinformation that they're being fed at the top by our mayor's administration. And so there's just a lack of an effort to do the work to build out a public safety infrastructure that actually meaningful works for the city. Because when I talk to people, no matter where they fall on the policing conversation, whether they want to increase the amount of police we have, increase their budget, or they're on the opposite spectrum towards defund, abolish, everyone's unhappy. No one's happy with what's happening right now. And so this doesn't go against our values, and it doesn't also go against what I've been hearing at the Capitol with officers telling us they need more help. And so we shouldn't put all those One thing I want to include in the public safety debate that I don't want to forget is that it's much more than just policing, right? Safety in our communities also means having an adequate societal safety net for everybody, meaning our public schools are funded, there's the youth programming, youth jobs, our transit infrastructure is fully built out, so if people want to bike or take the bus or train, they're able to do so. People are making livable wages. People are not paying most of their income on their rent, and so on. And I think that's another way to weave into the public safety debate.
What do you imagine your relationship with the downtown council and the Chamber of Commerce will be if you're elected?
Oh, my relationship will be with them exactly how it is with everyone, whether they're my like-minded or they don't think or not thinking the same as me. I'd have similar relationships. I have to engage with everyone. I have to talk with everyone. One of the things I learned myself at the Capitol, is that you're not always 100% correct. No matter how dug in or no matter how you feel about issues, you have to talk to people. And a lot of times it's community members and other stakeholders that can educate you in ways where things can get better. And by doing that, you're actually not sacrificing your values. It's okay to say, you know what, we can't adjust because I was not right on this. Now, that's not to say that the downtown council is going to come in and say, and be my educators on everything, but it's important to engage with stakeholders in a meaningful way, in a thoughtful way, and actually take into consideration people's concerns.
Do you think you can cut short the dynamic where they immediately like dig in and decide we're going to tear this guy to shreds? Because that is what I imagine happening. They spend 4 years saying we're going to rip this guy up. And do you think you could cut that short and say, hey, come here, let's talk. We can have a productive relationship?
I've spent the last 5 years working on legislation with some of the most right-wing people at the Capitol. Not just working with them, but having them as co-authors, knowing that a lot of times our values or vision don't align. So I don't have any problem with working with people that we might not agree on for the good of the people.
Oh, the Roof Depot site. So funding from the legislature kind of fell through a couple of years ago. And so now feels like we're in a standoff between the urban farm advocates and the city. And I believe the advocates want the city to lower their price. How do you see that being resolved?
Well, I hope the conversations continue in a meaningful way. The city and the mayor has an opportunity to put their money where their mouth is. And if we talk about our climate goals in the city, we have to talk about the environmental racism and injustices that some communities have been facing, not just for the last years, but for generations. Communities that have had issues with higher rates of asthma and cancer and heart disease because of the pollution that has been poured on into their communities. And the East Phillips Urban Farm Project is one of the things that is working towards not only having a community project, but working towards reversing that generational harm. My hope is that our mayor actually engages better than what we have been seeing right now, in a way in which folks that have been directly impacted have been vocalizing their pain, so that they're not neglected.
Do you think the city should lower the price?
Absolutely. Or we can do a lot of things. We can partner again with the county. They can hold off for a longer period of time so that we can get it right at the Capitol next year. The city can lower the price. There's multiple solutions that the city can embark on. It's just they're not willing to do so. And when I say the city, I'm not talking about the city council. I'm talking about our mayor.
Are you worried that blows a hole in the budget potentially if the city can't recover the money that they've...
Absolutely not. No.
No?
No.
Do we have to go across this bridge here? I forget how to navigate. Oh, I think we have to go down this way.
Here.
Are we going the wrong way down the street now? No.
No, we're not.
We may be breaking the law. I'll cut the part out where we're breaking the law.
There's a 20-mile-an-hour sign right there. We should be okay. Oh my gosh.
Watch out, Omar.
Hey, John, was this part of your plan?
This was not part of the plan. I'm not trying to get the Minneapolis Mamdani killed. I would not do that. Okay, we're on our way to Lake Harriet. So we're back to talking about like the city charter and mayoral powers now.
Yeah.
City charter, I don't know if you've heard, is the city charter commission is discussing whether to strip the council of some appointment, confirmation powers.
Yes.
For some positions, like I think public works director could be a non-appointed if the mayor gets his way.
Yep.
Unclear what the plan will be, but some positions that are currently confirmed by the council would not be if this changes.
It'll be solely on him, on the mayor's decision.
What do you think about that? Do you want absolute power to hire some of these director and deputy director positions, or are you okay with having the council confirm all your nominees?
I'd be 100% okay with having the council engage in that, because these positions, these roles are not going to be solely engaging with me. They'll be engaging with the city council, with various stakeholders. So I wouldn't mind it not being the sole decision making, or the sole. I wouldn't mind it not being the sole decision made by a mayor.
4 years ago, when we were debating the strong mayor thing, I was thinking to myself, you know, all of you people who want this all-powerful mayor, eventually someone will come along who could win and become mayor who you just despise and think would be awful. And I feel like you might be that person.
I hope not.
That's making them regret. Because like, you don't always agree with the person who gets elected mayor. What happened to checks and balances?
Yeah, but my whole thing is strong mayor, weak mayor, whatever system. As senator, I want to engage as I have always as a senator. I've always engaged with the folks I align with and the folks that I disagree with in the same exact way. And so I wouldn't want to continue the tradition or the culture of having toxic relationships with those that who have different opinions than you. I think that's unhealthy. I think that's not helpful for our city, and that's the direction that I want to take us in.
Is there something we should be talking about? Like, what did you come on this bike ride thinking? I hope we talk about that.
I think just the general dynamics of the race.
Are you winning? Are you winning?
Well,
I saw that poll today where you're like, Fateh plus Davis plus Hampton is 10 points ahead of the mayor. Is that what it said?
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing citywide on the doors when we're knocking doors, talking to people, is exactly what's aligned with that poll. And also, by the way, at the convention, the mayor getting in the low 30s. The mayor got 31% on the first ballot.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be very indicative and and reflective of what we're going to see this November. More and more people throughout the city are fed up with the broken promises. They're fed up with the lies. One thing that I heard time and time again since when I first embarked on this journey was what's equally important to good policy are good relationships. People are just really fed up with having a mayor that's just not engaged with the city council, not having a good relationship with our county commissioners or our Minneapolis delegation at the Capitol. And so when we have a mayor that's disconnected that much and boxing himself in that much, then we all lose as a result.
This has been the Wedge Live podcast. Thank you, Senator Omar Fateh, candidate for Minneapolis mayor. I'm your host, John Edwards. Thank you for listening.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.